the most underrated sale in America, ranked #1 by percentage of stakes winners, stakes horses, and 2-year-old winners. Precocious yearlings selected on pedigree and superior conformation, plus a showcase of the freshman sires of 2025. Recent grads include Grade 1 winners Chancer McPatrick and Carson's Run, with a growing list of graded stakes winners. Buy smarter, buy earlier, buy in July. The Fasig-Tipton July sale of selected yearlings, July 8th in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Horse Races Now podcast. Kenny, our numbers have just been fantastic as of late. Thank you to Annie. I think Annie was the star last week, so you got to thank your daughter for helping our numbers here a little.
Of course she is. Of course she is. Today we're recording from Keeneland.
Awesome.
I'm going to give you a quick spin around here. Got some young horses going out to the racetrack now. This is typical morning here. This is the last set going out here on this steamy day here at Keeneland, but we'll probably get a little bit of a look at some of those as they go by here in a little bit.
Anybody special on the track right now? Anybody people should know?
Just some young horses that are just getting going. We've got another set coming up, and I don't have a list in front of me, but yeah, we've been through. I think we still got 50 something horses here right now.
Okay.
So there's plenty of work, and my assistant Kevin Gladowski's walking up now, but let me see how he's got them matched up. Hey, Kevin, how did you match these? Which who's inside, outside?
I didn't tell him. I just said inside.
Okay. Which three we got again? Got it. One's a New York bred. One is a half sister to Take Charge of a Lady.
Okay.
Who's the third one, Kevin? Oh, the street. So she's not named. Yeah. So some of these horses we're still learning. Sticker Shock I know well. Rena's Revenge I bought in a yearling sale in Saratoga. She's by Yalpon. And then the Street Sense filly doesn't have a name yet.
How can you not have a name? That's interesting. How do you guys know what to call the horse?
Well, sometimes we have to woodpecker the clientele. Hey, would you please name this horse?
Interesting.
Please name this horse.
Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
Surely you want to ask about this, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that was my next question. I saw this on social media. Kenny, I'll be honest with you. I thought it was AI. I thought it was fake. And then my dad saw, I guess you got interviewed on TV this past weekend and you showed it off. Man, you're rocking is that your first tattoo?
Yeah, I went big and went on.
Yeah, you sure did.
I always said that if I ever won the Derby that I would get a tattoo and I did it. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah, show our listeners, the ones who don't know.
It's only been about 4 or 5 days.
Oh my goodness.
We're still healing, but it's getting there. But it's a girl named Zilla Smith did it.
Okay.
And yeah, it's pretty extreme, but I'm proud of it. It's pretty cool.
Well, listen, man, what a cool way to honor that accomplishment. I mean, I'm all in. I get it. It's like Rick Pitino when he got his L on his back when he won the title.
You can't see that, though.
Yeah, you can't see it. That's a good point. That's a good point.
No, it's one of the crazier things I ever did. But I don't know. I just felt like it was something to commemorate. And Sherry gave it to me as a gift. She bought it out of a charity auction.
Okay.
From the tattoo artist. And the young lady did an excellent job. Zilla Smith. I don't know. She's easy to find on Instagram.
Okay.
But she was very meticulous, and it hurt like hell.
How long did it take?
4 hours.
Yeah. That's just pain.
Yeah, that's 4 hours. She said, you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it. She was wrong.
Yeah, nope.
I was literally chewing bullets doing it all. But you kind of get through it and you get used to it. But it was interesting experience. At least I could say I've been there, did that. Right?
Yeah, well, you got that forever. That's for sure. That's awesome, man. All right, so talk to us about this weekend. Big weekend coming up. And I don't know if, not really from a handicapping purposes, but talk to us about a couple of the races that we've got coming.
Huge weekend. I think the biggest thing I'm excited about is probably Mystic Dan over there at Churchill and his chance to, prove himself at a high level again. I mean, the rematch with Sierra Leone's exciting, but that is a really deep competitive field, and I do think that gives Mystic Dan an opportunity to figure out whether he fits in the Breeders' Cup Classic conversation. And I'm a little tentative or nervous about that because, look, if he can't fit in that, then we're gonna have to find a bit of a plan B. But he is he's training fantastic, and it's a exciting race, and I think the draw is good, but it's the best of the best of the best. This is a preview of what could be a Breeders' Cup Classic in the fall. I mean, World Cup winner. I mean,
this is a Stephen Foster,
winner.
Correct?
Oh, it's Bears,
Okay.
Complete Bears.
So, what's your gut say on Mystic Dan's chances? That's what our listeners really want to know.
Chance, but look, it's a smaller field, and it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. He does love the racetrack over there, and I do think that's going to help him. It's wide open. I mean, I actually haven't seen a morning line on it yet, but I think that's going to be one of the most difficult morning lines to write for a handicap forever. I mean, there's just so many good horses. It seems like across the board, they're all high-level talent.
Torpedo Anna's coming back, looking for some redemption.
Yep. Good. Seems like a real good conservative spot to get her back into winning ways, and she's done really well in the last month or so, and we'll I'm cautiously optimistic that she gets that done too. If she wins that, then we'll probably point her towards something late summer that takes her into the fall. And I'm kind of inclined to I'd like to point her towards Keeneland here, the Spinster, for the month of October. But we got a little bit of water under the bridge before we get to that.
So, talk to me about the horses she's running against. Is there any of her caliber that are in the race?
Well, they're mostly grade 2, grade 3 type fillies. I mean, Jin's a filly that's been running really well. I can't remember some of the others off the top of my head, but it's certainly not an easy race, but it is a race that she should win if all goes well. I mean, if she runs anything to her past form, she wins, and hopefully she doesn't repeat her last effort. But I do think there were some excuses there, and we're going to give her a pass on that one.
All right, I'm going to hit our first question here, Kenny. So, watching races, sometimes we see that a horse has its tongue tied down to its lower jaw. Could you give us some insight into why and how of the practice?
Well, a horse has what you call a palate, and when you tie a horse's tongue, it depresses the palate to keep it up out of the airway. I'm actually not a big fan of tongue ties. I don't run in them very often. On occasion, you get recommendation from a veterinarian that this horse could use a figure 8 and a tongue tie. But and there are a couple of surgeries that are possible to do that to help it, called a myectomy, and also what they call a tie forward. While we're talking here, I'm going to show you these young horses galloping, coming down the lane here.
Awesome.
I don't know if my camera's a little fuzzy there.
What do you see there, Kenny? Do you like what you see when you're watching this? Are you seeing anything that concerns you?
You got the one on the inside on the wrong lead, and then you got the two on the outside. Look like they're hitting their leads okay.
What do you mean by wrong lead?
She's on the left lead. The chestnut filly on the inside's on the left lead, and the other two are on the correct lead, and you're supposed to switch to left lead on the turns. Now the gray is on the incorrect lead, and then she just switched.
But that's not on the jockey or the riding?
Yeah, it's the rider's responsibility.
Interesting. Okay.
So you got Kevin? Who you got, Kevin? Bijou. This is the horse that just won the other day. Call Me Johnny. And then a horse named Bijou, who's He's a Medaglia d'Oro out of Midnight Bijou, very well bred. He's a little further away there. I don't think I can zoom in very well on this phone, but this is the last set. So we're trying to get him out of the heat here. But yeah, these are basic gallops. So 6 gallop back to the 6 furlong pole, 1 turn back to the half. And
Gotcha.
just a nice light gallop in this.
You
heat.
said you said young horses. Are these 2-year-olds?
Well, the last 2 that came by are 3-year-olds, and the first group of 3 that were galloping together are 2-year-olds.
So speaking of breeding, Betsy has an interesting comment here. She says she's driving herself crazy trying to figure out who they will eventually bred to Torpedo Anna. I don't know whether they want to try to pick or double up on some horses in her pedigree like Seattle Slew, or if they just want specific traits that they may want to improve on. Can you enlighten us any?
Well, I think an ideal stallion for her will be Curlin, because I picked out Curlin as the yearling, so physically they're going to match, or at least they should. And you're not going to get that many opportunities to breed to Curlin, but you're talking about next year, and likelihood is that she will probably be bred next year, and I think we're inclined to keep her. We'll see, but that's a high level problem, and then beyond that, I'm not sure who else is a good cross with her. I mean, haven't dug into it too deep because I think it's a little bit early, but we will start contemplating that sometime later in the year, and probably at the soonest October.
Is that something you do much, Kenny?
It's going to depend on our next few races.
Is that something you do much? That you trying to figure out that breeding pattern?
Teague, are you kidding me?
I'm saying. I'm just asking.
I did the mating. I bought Ma'am. I did the mating on Ma'am to Golden Sense.
Yeah.
We fold Mystic Dan at Magdalena.
Okay.
We raised him
All right.
at Magdalena. We broke him, and we trained him, and we won with him.
I'm just giving you the opportunity to brag here a little bit. So,
actually, some people have said I haven't really. People don't realize I did all that. I mean, Lance Gasaway and the whole partnership, Sherilyn and everybody. They gave me the what I'd call the artistic freedom to do that. But most people are quite happy to have touched a horse at any stage during the Derby, but are going into a Derby and to did the mating and raised him, and my whole team did it. And we don't have that many mares out there. We've got modest number of mares, but it's a look, it's something I love doing, and I do think that breeding horses is a really big deal in how you mate them. I believe, I'll use the analogy. When you're mating horses, you don't breed a beer bottle to a wine glass because you don't know what you're going to hit.
Right.
You breed wine glass to a wine glass or a beer bottle to a beer bottle. I mean, it's a poor analogy, but you get the concept of matching bodies. And I think the art of horse husbandry is matching physicals and finding a horse like a Torpedo Anna. Her knock is that maybe she's on a little offset left leg, but her assets are hip and her shoulder and her balance. Curlin is a real similar horse, and then he has a similar hip, shoulder, balance, and he was turned out in one leg, and actually the same leg that she is. So that would be a little bit of a risk there, but you should get all the rest of it come together. But all that's very interesting stuff. I grew up around that portion of the business well before I ever trained my first winner. So I've always been very intrigued with the breeding side of it. And I do think that people that breed horses are amazing because it's such a challenge.
It's an art form.
Expensive business. Yeah.
All right. Next question here. Love the show and glad to hear that Rattle is resting and recovering from the small issue he's been facing. My question for Kenny is looking ahead. When Anna's racing career is over, is Kenny in the partnership selling Torpedo Anna to a breeding farm, or is he going to do the breeding himself at Magdalena? Who will be the lucky stud that the breeder could potentially be the next $1 million colt or filly? Will he keep the offspring, or will he auction it off? You kind of just answered that, but go a little bit more detail there.
Getting a little bit further down, but yeah, we did talk about all that. But yeah, more than likely, my hope is that we keep her and we're able to breed her and raise foals out of her. But that'll depend on the partnership group and what everybody's intentions are. We'll take that as it comes, and it's the decisions on whether you keep a foal or sell a foal. It depends on your how the horse is being raised and your initial opinion, and maybe you sell colts, you keep fillies, but these are all problems or things that you don't make those decisions as you go, and we do that a lot on young horses, and we get them in a group. We say, okay, let's keep this one, let's sell that one. This one may have some vet exam issues, might be harder to sell, so you might want to race. It'll depend on the age of the mare. You want the mare to be successful. To make the mare successful, sometimes you're better off keeping that horse in your program to get the first couple of foals some success on the racetrack. And if that happens, then obviously the mare's valuation's affected. So there's a lot of what I would say left-hand turns, right-hand turns, decision-making that you have to go through to get to that point.
Makes a ton of sense. All right, so this may not be an easy question to answer here, but I'm curious on your thoughts. Kenny mentioned that he will be starting sales come July. Shout out Fasig Tipton. I will love to one day see the process and how you become a partner or an owner for one of these horses, from expressing interest to getting in on a base investment percentage opportunity offered. I imagine that there's a lot of paperwork and legal documents with many disclosures. It'd be very interesting to learn about that process.
Believe it or not, there is not a lot of paperwork, and there are not a lot of disclosures. We do most everything on a handshake. My job is to get horses and put them in the routine and try to figure out whether or not they're going to compete at a high level. When I buy a yearling, there's obviously risk involved in that, in the sense that there's more average horses than there are top horses. But we actually just started our Magdalena Racing Partnership offerings. We've got 3 young horses that are going to be offered on the website right now. And you need to go to McPeekracing.com and just look up partnerships. But typically those are 20% shares. Somebody would call me or email me and ask whether or not these is a good horse to invest in, and then we try to do evaluation. It's what I'd call fair, and each horse is different. They're all apples and oranges. There's never any black and white to it at all. But 20% is a really good way to start into the business. It's not a business that most people are capable of diving in deep initially. But if you ease into it, I think it's better for everybody.
What's that dollar amount normally look like? Can you just ballpark it? So if you're going to 20% something.
Well, most of the Magdalena partnerships I do are horses that are under $100,000 each. I mean, I usually am prospecting at these auctions trying to find a good horse for reasonable money. And when I do that, like I said, it's a starter horse. I've done a few over the $200,000 range, but typically not. It's typically a horse that is by a younger stallion, younger mare, maybe what I thought horse that I thought fell through the cracks. But I think there's a whole group of people out there that really enjoy having a modestly priced horse and taking a chance. And Torpedo Anna was a Magdalena offering in the beginning, and I've got a lot of other really good horses we've had over the years that came through and ended up being Magdalena partnerships.
Pretty cool. All right. Last question for today's podcast from our listeners. This is from John, and John had some really nice comments on Magdalena, said he's toured a few times and what an amazing place. He says, I'd like to get Kenny's opinion on what he considers are the key factors in determining whether to geld a colt.
Well, I'm not big on gelding a horse early unless they have temperament issues, or maybe if they're difficult. That's the first thing. But I really think that the testosterone, the natural hormones that they get from being a colt are very useful, because they heal faster when they're young horses, whether it's shins or whatever issues they might have. And I think that I really drag my feet to try to keep from gelding a horse prior to probably middle or end of their 3-year-old year, gives their bodies time to mature. And then beyond that, it depends on their talent level. If a horse has got talent, high level talent, you certainly wouldn't want to geld that horse. If a horse doesn't have talent and you think that their testicles are in the way or causing a lack or an issue racing, then you might consider gelding. But a good portion, or about 90% of most thoroughbred colts, probably need to be gelded at some point. And we kind of systematically take it as individuals and take our time. And we don't rush to it. I've got one colt right now that we've had in Saratoga that's temperamental. He's just beyond difficult. Every day is an argument. He's going to lose those, per se, here in the next 2 days.
Poor guy.
And then we're going to regroup with him and then start all over. But he horse named World of Rock, and he's just not cooperating in any sense of the game. We can't get any work done with him.
Is that normal, Kenny?
Anyway, that's just one example.
Is that normal to have a horse that just won't do anything?
Every crop, there's one. Every crop. It's like a classroom full of kids. There's always one of them that's just rotten. And, it's unfortunate, but we have to deal with it every year. And, we had Smile Happy years back that at some point in time during his about 4-year-old year, he just decided he wasn't going to do it anymore. And didn't want to train, didn't want to work, didn't want to run. And, at some point you have to deal with it. He didn't have enough pedigree to justify going to stud. So he ended up being retired to Secretariat Center and has, now he's a riding horse, and I think he's happy doing that. So all the better. Before we leave here, I want to talk a little bit further about the sales, because this year is going to be a little bit out there on auctions. And for those that might want to jot these down, pen and paper, here are the sales that I'm working in 2025.
Okay.
I'm going to work Phasic Tipped in July, which is on July 8th. I'm going to work the Japanese sale on the 9th of July. I'm going to leave for Japan, and I'm going to be in Japan for probably a week. A sale I'm real excited about. I don't anticipate buying over there, but I really want to get a lay of the land and understand their processes and certainly get to know the breeding a little bit better. There are 5 fillies that I train, 5 grade 1 winning mares that are at Northern Farm in Japan. And I'm going to go visit Swiss Skydiver, Simply Ravishing, Defining Purpose, Eskimo Kisses we won the Alabama with, and another mare named Kusora that I trained nearly 20 years ago. But
Kenny,
that is going to be an exciting,
will Swiss Skydiver remember you?
I would say if I have a peppermint, yes, she will. Yes. Yeah, I would be shocked if she didn't. I spent a lot of time handling her myself.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
But yeah, I'm excited about that trip. I'm not sure I'm going to buy horses so much as, like I said, get a lay of the market and understand, the culture. I've never been to Japan. I don't know much about it, and I need to probably study into, their culture and how people treat each other.
You have to learn some Japanese.
Well, I might learn a little Japanese, but that's a little tricky. One step at a time on that one.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're going to work the Phasic Tipped in August sale in Saratoga, which is a select sale. Then we'll work the Phasic Tipped in New York bred August sale. That's I believe the 10th and 11th of August. And then we'll work Keeneland September. Well, then we're going to go to Deauville for the Arcana sale, which is the 16th to the 18th of August.
Yep.
Then we're going to go Keeneland September, which is the marathon sale, 8th of September until the 20th of September. Then I may work Goths in Ireland, and then I may work Tattersalls. And then the last sale of the year is the Phasic Tipped in October sale, October yearling sale, which is where Torpedo Anna came out of, and a list of others. So, yeah, sale season's getting ready to come on us, and there's a lot of work to do and all that. And we usually have to somewhat dig in and get a little fit for it. But other than that, it's an exciting time of year.
So it sounds like you're going to be getting after it. Do you normally go after these many sales?
Yeah, the only one addition this year is the Japanese sale.
Okay.
But attended most of these other ones for a long time.
All right. Well, Kenny, great luck this weekend. Anybody else running other than Mystic Dan and Torpedo Anna we need to be keeping an eye on?
I've got 17 horses running between now and
okay.
And
yeah, there's a few then.
Sunday.
Give us a winner. Who's going to win?
Gosh, I tell you this, I got a bunch of good young horses getting ready to run. Go-To Girl, we love her. Of course, we would expect Anna. I would think she gets back to winning ways. At least I hope so. I've got a really good feeling named Dancing Drums that's running. Acts like she's high-level talent. I've got a colt named Favorite Day that is rocket ship fast. He's a first-time starter. That's all I can think of.
Okay. Well, listen, though, you probably just made our listeners some money, as you have done repeatedly over this podcast. So pretty cool. Kenny, thank you so much. And to our listeners, if you have questions, here's the best way to do this. Go to our YouTube page, find our latest episode, ask the question in the comments. Kenny is an open book, as you can see. Whatever you guys want to know, whatever you want to learn about, go there, put the questions there, and we'd be happy to answer them. So thank you so much for listening.
I got to run. See you at the races.
See you at the races.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Horse Races Now podcast. We will see you again next week.
The most underrated sale in America, ranked #1 by percentage of stakes winners, stakes horses, and 2-year-old winners. Precocious yearlings selected on pedigree and superior conformation, plus a showcase of the freshman sires of 2025. Recent grads include Grade 1 winners Chancer McPatrick and Carson's Run, with a growing list of graded stakes winners. Buy smarter, buy earlier, buy in July. The Phasing-Tipton July sale of selected yearlings, July 8th in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?